Alright, welcome back friends. In today's video we're gonna talk about one of the secrets behind a successful piece of art. Find out why it doesn't matter what you paint. Yes, you heard me right. And along the way we're not only gonna learn something about oil painting, but hopefully also get a glimpse into the mind of an artist. So with that said, let's go. So I start this painting by painting the darkest areas of the face first. The lips, the eyebrows, the shadow under her jaw. The reference I'm working from is not only very evenly lit, but the skin also has a very light complexion, which means that none of these areas are really that dark, which creates a bit of a problem. And that is, how do you paint pale white skin on a white surface? Well, you don't, because as you can see, I'm not painting on a white surface. Let's rewind the tape a bit and talk about one of the things I get asked about the most. The acrylic wash. As you can see, before painting anything else, I coat the whole painting surface with this peachy rose color. Which is not a random choice, by the way. Some people call this a wash, others call this underpainting. Doesn't really matter what you call it. What it is the base color for the painting. In my case here, it's thinned down acrylic paint. You could also use oil paint, watercolor, spray paint, or even tint the ground itself by adding color to the primer. Different techniques, same effect. You don't start painting on a white surface. This not only makes painting pale white skin infinitely easier, but it's also the first step in creating a piece of art that is more than the sum of its parts. So after painting the darker areas, I start putting down patches of pastel-colored skin tones. And I work my way from one part of the face to the next, while constantly tweaking and adjusting colors and proportions. Now let's be real for a second. What am I painting here? I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm also not revolutionizing the genre of portrait painting here. I'm painting the head of a woman with flowers in her hair. But does that mean that it can't be a good or even great piece of art? No, of course not. Not at all. To create an appealing and successful piece of art, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't even matter what you paint. What really matters is how well an artwork is executing its function. Let me explain what I mean by that. Paintings can have different functions. To provoke, to tell a story, catch the viewer's attention, or to just look decorative. And each of these functions can be broken up into different categories. In the case of decoration, for example, decorating a modern house, a museum, a public space, etc. And depending on the function, we can ask ourselves what we can or should do so that the final painting serves its function the best. And once you understand this very simple concept, you realize that what you paint suddenly becomes secondary. And it's not even that important how you paint something. The one thing that stands above all is the question, how well do the things I do serve the function of the painting? Now, what does that mean for us here? It's not about painting a portrait or flowers. Those things are just ingredients that serve a bigger purpose. It's about creating a certain vibe and emotional reaction from the viewer. What I'm painting here doesn't need to be revolutionary or incredibly creative. I'm painting this here to bring across a point in a YouTube video, so that's all it needs to do. And whether it's a portrait with flowers, or a hand with rings, or a bird or a banana that serves as a vehicle for that effect, doesn't really matter that much anymore. When you look at the final painting, you are not supposed to see a woman with flowers in her hair. At least not initially. You're supposed to have a visceral emotional reaction to not the flowers, not the face, but to the painting as a whole. Saying I'm just painting a head with flowers is like saying a burger is ground beef between two pieces of bread. I mean, technically that's true, but that's not the whole story, is it? Bread and meat are just two of the main components, but there's much more to it, right? There are condiments and toppings, there is color and texture, there's packaging even. All these things are individual components that come together in the end to create something bigger than the sum of its parts. And it's the same for a painting. But for that to happen, you have to put in some thought. You can't just slap meat between bread, or in our case, paint a flower on a female head. You need to put in some effort and think about how all the components work together. Which brings me to the background, and also back to where we started, the acrylic wash. So after having worked on the face and the flowers in her hair, it's time to introduce the background. And now you can notice that the peachy rose color I used is, indeed, a complementary color of the background. And that's not by chance. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, what difference does it make? We've seen you paint before, you're gonna paint over everything anyway in the end. Well, yes and no. But before we talk about that, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. As you guys know, I'm all about thinking outside of the box, learning new things and being creative. And since it's the start of a new decade, one could argue, it's the ideal time to explore and learn new skills. And Skillshare is the perfect place for that. It's an online learning community for people like you and me to get creative and learn new skills. You get to explore thousands of classes with topics ranging from boosting your productivity to demystifying graphic design. You can learn about drawing, writing, taking photos, editing videos, all kinds of things. And the most beautiful thing is, you can discover topics and skills you didn't even know you were interested in. For example, the Intro to Graphic Design, Expressing Emotion with Color Theory class. Understanding color theory, as we already touched on in this video, is one of the most underrated skills every artist should have. And just knowing the fundamentals will already make a huge difference in how your paintings and compositions look. And at just $10 a month for an unlimited premium membership, Skillshare is absolutely not going to break the bank. But since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 500 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get 2 months of premium membership for free. So I highly recommend you make use of that, guys, and that you get inspired and creative. Tinting the painting surface, in a way, is the most important part of this particular painting. It has a profound impact on everything I do from that point on. It sets up the whole look and feel of the finished painting. On the one hand, it allows me to better see and judge all the light and pale skin tones, which is very difficult against a white background. Everything looks dark next to white, and that usually tricks you into mixing much lighter colors than you should. But on the other hand, even more importantly, although I'm painting over most of the background, I'm not painting over all of it. Even if only 2% of that wash shines through in the end, it will still make a huge difference. And since it's the complementary color of the background, it will automatically tie all the components of the painting together and create a color harmony for the whole painting. And after having painted the background, I go back for some final adjustments. I tidy up the lips and the nose, and I adjust some of the skin tones. I don't introduce any major changes at this stage. Instead, I focus on what I have and I refine what's already there, until I feel like all the components serve their function. So, does it matter what you paint? Well, the answer is, of course, yes and no. Sure, some subjects are more appealing to a wider audience than others, but ultimately, it doesn't matter as much as you would think. People are so caught up in figuring out what to paint and how to paint that they completely forget about the whys. And I don't mean why we paint something. I'm talking about the simple whys behind our decisions before and during the painting process. Why we paint realistic rather than abstract. Why blue instead of green? Why paint in the first place rather than take a photo? Most of the greatest pieces of art in history aren't great because of their excellence in any one particular aspect. They are outstanding because every aspect perfectly serves the function of the final piece of art. Asking yourself what the function of your painting is a much better question than what you should paint. Because you can paint anything you want and create a masterpiece doing that. You also don't need to have a reason for doing it, no political or philosophical motivation. But what you should do is ask yourself what the function of the final painting is supposed to be, and what you can do to emphasize it. You can paint the most decorative painting ever, but if the function of the painting is to be thought-provoking, well, it's probably not the best idea to just pour acrylic paint on top of each other. How thought-provoking can that be? I mean, when you want to eat something refreshing and fruity, it doesn't matter if you cook yourself the juiciest and most flavorful burger in the world, does it? In that instance, you'd be far better off by just eating a piece of pineapple. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video and want to support the channel, then consider doing so on Patreon. Your help goes a long way in helping me create these videos consistently, and by joining the Patreon campaign, you get access to an exclusive Discord server where you and I can hang out any day of the week. And with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Special thanks to all my $10 patrons and the artists of the roundtable: Jody Gall, Christopher Morrissey, Dylan Goff, Gabriella Milner, Lydia Broderick, Hanne Torvinen, Kendra Quinn, Samuel Diefenbach, Sanne Fine Art, and Steffi S. Thanks for supporting this channel and for being so generous and awesome, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Please hit like, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and yeah, have a good one.